Hey there, today let's talk about expenses. Woo, everybody's excited, right? Yay! All right, sponsored by FreshBooks today, the quick tip is about reducing your expenses. We don't do this often enough, mostly because we're super busy and it sort of gets put on the back burner. But one of the things that I highly recommend you doing this week is to actually go through your list of expenses. We've done the budgeting before, which I think is great, but we should actually get rid of some of the expenses that we don't necessarily need. I know I do this too. I sign up for membership sites, forget all about it, $37 a month. Oh, whoops, and it goes away and I never remember it again. There's also free trials that I accidentally let keep going, and we need to make sure that we're paying attention so money's not just slipping away. You'd be surprised at how much money you can sort of collect back up when you're really paying attention to that. You can also reduce, especially if you have a home office, call and try and get your internet cheaper. You can call places to actually reduce that expense sheet. So that way, when you actually look at your budget, it's lower. So you don't even have to make as much. Then you're making more and more and more profit. Okay. And it will literally, I would set aside an hour or 2 hours, and that's it, to actually remove these things, unsubscribe, go through, call places, cancel the best you can. Even if you have like an old gym membership, cancel that too. Because guys, there's no point in throwing money in the trash if you're not actually using some of this stuff. It will save you so much, especially if they're recurring expenses. So make sure you do that today or this week at least. Set it for an hour or two, and I will save you so much money over the long term just by doing this one thing. Okay, so of course, you've heard about FreshBooks. I highly recommend going and checking them out and really getting your finances back to back. It's funny. I remember reading this way back when. It's Financial Management 101. But I want you, that's the whole point of these quick tips. I want you to really start feeling like you can get a handle on this and not avoid it. So go to freshbooks.com/EM and you can sign up there with no credit card. And of course, put in Eventual Millionaire in the Where'd You Hear About Us. You guys are amazing, and you're going to be even more amazing after you've got all your finances ready and shored up. You'll thank me later. All right, have an amazing day. You rock. Bye. Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I'm Jamie Masters, and today on the show we have Yuri Elkaim. I'm so excited because when I met him, I didn't know he was such an amazing baller in business. You can find him at yurielkaim.com and also healthpreneurgroup.com. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
It's been a pleasure. It's not been a pleasure yet, but it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm sure it'll be a pleasure after we're done.
Better be, right?
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
Pressure.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Heck yeah. Well, it's funny. We met in person, and then it's always amazing to be like, oh, by the way, this is my amazing business. So why don't you talk about, because you sort of have two different niches that you run down. Why don't you tell us a little bit about both of those?
Sure. So my bread and butter for the last 11 years online specifically has been our health business, which is yurielkaim.com. So it's kind of branded around me. And, we've been able to grow a really, great presence online, helping 500,000 people. I've got almost 23 million YouTube video views. Done really well. So 3 published books, one of them is a New York Times bestseller, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, my whole mission has been to help make fit and healthy simple again, to really transform people's lives so they can take better control of their health and live a life that they want to live. And I've been doing that for 20 years, 11 of those years online. And I got to the point where I just had a lot of other colleagues in our space asking me like, hey, can you give me some advice on business? And that happened a lot. And then I was like, maybe I should do something with this. So about a year and a half ago, I started a new division called Healthpreneur. And we kind of planted the seed, didn't really do much with it. But I took a 2-month sabbatical this past summer. And when I came back, I said, listen, guys, 90% of my time is on growing this bad boy, because that's really what I'm most passionate about, is helping other health and fitness professionals turn their expertise into a thriving online business. Because I really believe health and fitness professionals have a gift that can transform people's lives, probably more so than most other professions, but they just don't know how to get their message out effectively in a lot of cases. And so that's, so those are kind of the two businesses. And the cool thing about Healthpreneur is that I only teach stuff that I actually do in my other business. So it's not like I took a course and I'm like, hey, here's how to do a product launch. It's stuff that we actually do in our business. And it's awesome. Yeah.
Thank goodness. Oh, real results. Awesome. So let's dive into that, because I feel like that's where everybody's excited, whether they're health professionals or not. But I get this over and over and over again because it's a saturated area. There's literally, I get emails. There's so many people that are like, I want to go in this space, or they're already in this space and they're trying to figure out, how do I set myself apart? So you in general probably know a lot about niching and trying to go down that path. Can you sort of give us some enlightenment on what works right now?
Yeah. So especially the health and fitness space is super saturated, right? So like what's different between you and the next 100 personal trainers or natural practitioners or health coaches?
Like, I'm a special snowflake. Wait a minute. That's it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's all.
So I tell people, I'm like, first and foremost, your biggest uniqueness, your biggest unfair advantage is you, right? So the difficulty online is like you go on Facebook, you go on social media, you're like, oh, this person is doing some cool stuff. I should do what they're doing. Or, oh, I love the look of their website. I'm going to copy that one. And I can name one person off the top of my head who I'm not going to, who's a big prominent figure, especially in the female entrepreneurship space, who I can come across somebody's website and I'm like,
carbon copy, carbon. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Me too. Yes.
And it's like, okay, you want to model what works, but at the same time, you have to find your voice and authenticity because that's what's going to help you stand out in this marketplace. And I tell, like, one of the things that I teach our clients is this whole concept of kool-aid content, which is content not so much about like, 10 ways to lose weight or 10 ways to whatever. It's about like your essence, your position, your belief system, your manifesto, if you will. Like, what do you believe to be true? What do you stand for? What do you stand against? And I just as an example, I posted a quick video on my Facebook page, on my profile page the other day before the election. And it was simply about, it doesn't matter who wins. All that matters is the fact that if I were to vote, I'd be voting for you because you're in control of your future. Mm-hmm. You're the one making the decisions every single day, blah, 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 blah. So it's a big kind of like indoctrination piece. And that's what I call kool-aid content. And that video went viral. I was like, holy cow, surprising. But it was because I was simply sharing my beliefs and polarizing, saying, listen, I believe this. You want to join me? Yes or no? That's the type of stuff more people need to put out as opposed to the plain vanilla 10 ways to squat, whatever. I mean, that stuff's important too. But I think really, your position in the marketplace is first and foremost based on who you are as a person. You have to share that in an authentic way. So there's a couple other things. One of the other things I think would be you have to identify, if you're coming to marketplace, for instance, with a product or an idea, you have to ask yourself, is this already being done? Mm. If so, is my version exponentially better than what's out there? I mean, if it's marginally better, you better be the smartest marketer on the planet because it's going to be very tough to move that bad boy. But you have to come up with something that's very unique, that meets a problem and serves that audience in a way that's very unique. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty tricky. So there's a couple different things. Actually, on our website at healthpreneurgroup.com, we have a 2-page idea filter that helps people kind of sift and sort through all this stuff so they can learn how to position their stuff and really go down a path that is not going to waste their time. So they can get that for free if they want, but it's a really cool tool.
Not waste their time. Well, that's the problem, right? Where when we want to be a personal brand, it's more about us, but that also means that if we have tall poppy syndrome, that's going to affect what we feel like is okay to say versus what we're not sure what's going to hit. And then we get all crazy and caught up in our head on what should happen versus what it feels right? So how do we determine what is good versus what is not good? Do you know what I mean? Like, stand in your beliefs. You can do a video and then no views. So how do we know? Where's the line?
A lot of it's trial and error. You also have to know your marketplace to some degree. That's what I love about like the health and fitness profession. For the most part, most people started off in a one-on-one environment where they have direct interaction with the customer. Whereas if you're like internet marketer, I don't know where the one-on-one is coming from, right? It's a lot of market research that's a little bit less connected. Mm. So I think having that person-to-person, toe-to-toe experience definitely helps to get a good sense of what your market's like. That's important. But otherwise, you just have to test stuff. Like, you just got to put stuff out. You see what works, what doesn't. You'll get a pretty good sense pretty quickly of who your market is. I mean, you can also survey them. Just be like, hey, listen, like, what are your political views? Are you Democrat, Republican? I mean, like, stuff like that, just to get a better feel for your audience, your marketplace. And then, if you're creating stuff, you want to, one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I was starting was I created a lot of products out of what I thought the marketplace wanted.
Me too. Yep.
And it was simply like, just, oh yeah, this is a great idea, I'm going to do it. And then like crickets.
Yep.
So really look for pain and urgency in your marketplace. If you go after pain and urgency, the selling process, the marketing process becomes a whole lot easier, because if you got a splitting headache, if I have a pill, done, right? Like, just give it to me. But if I'm telling you this pill is going to help prevent headaches in the future, whatever. I'll take care of that with water, something like that. But if it's painful and urgent in the moment, that becomes a lot more powerful.
Fork over the cash. Well, number one, it makes us feel a lot better that you've had this issue also. You're like, yay, somebody else screwed up.
I tell people the only reason that I'm a little bit more ahead than you is that I've made way more mistakes. So
because you're like, oh, been there, done that, felt the pain, moved on. Okay, exactly. So let's go in a little bit further, because you've created, I mean, just reading your bio and stuff, 20,000 page views, blah, like we start getting into numbers where everyone's like, oh, that's great for him. But what if I were starting now? If I started 11 years ago, that would have been easy. Haha, we can't do that. So if somebody has a brand, they sort of know their niche in general, and they're still collecting feedback and data, what do you suggest for really trying to level it up faster? Because we are an impatient entrepreneur bunch. We want it all now. More views, more people loving us, more sales.
Yeah. Well, I think first you have to really identify, like, what's the business model? Like, what type of business do you want to have? So I have a team of 12 people, and I could easily fire all of them and run an affiliate business where I just send out affiliate promotions all day long. Mm-hmm. But I would not feel good about that. I would not sleep well at night. That's not the type of business that I want to run. I want to build a business that leaves a legacy and really creates impact. So I need a bigger team to achieve that dream. And we decided about 2 years ago that for us, content in a very strategic fashion was going to be our major play. And I've created like 900 videos on YouTube, a lot of them just verbal diarrhea, no strategic focus, nothing.
Okay.
But they helped a lot of people. And I said, well, what if there was a way where we could develop a system around content that provides amazing value, but also leads people down a path that actually leads them to becoming customers of ours in a way that benefits them as well as us. And so we started doing some research around the web, and there weren't really many websites, even though they're getting tons of traffic, that were doing this properly. And so we developed this whole framework called Teach the Sell. And it's a very proprietary thing that we have now that we're starting to teach other health and fitness professionals, because it's such an unfair advantage when you can come to the market and provide content in a way that people are just wowed. Content, if you're not producing content, you're severely handicapped in this marketplace, because content positions you as an authority, as a thought leader, and as an expert in your niche, right? The only difference between like Seth Godin and Gary Vaynerchuk and someone who's not known is that they've simply been around longer, sharing their thoughts about stuff prolifically, right? They've written books because they've been sharing their thoughts. They've written blog posts. And it's simply like what you have up here is your biggest asset. And you need to produce content around that. And if you're not, it becomes an issue. So I think if you want to make money quickly, content can do that if you do it properly. But if you want to make money quickly, you have to develop a list. You have to build a list. Full disclosure, my wife has an Etsy business. She makes beautiful crystal bracelets, okay, like healing crystals. And I was just talking to her last night, and she still does not have an email list, not even of her customers. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what are you doing?
Wait a minute, you're married to me. You need to listen. What?
I'm like, okay, you just gave me fuel for this discussion or anything else. It's a cardinal sin that she even said that, right? I'll keep it on the down low so she doesn't hear.
I won't judge. No judgment.
If you have a list of people, it becomes like your treasure chest. That you can email people and get feedback. You can email them a specific offer, something that's really going to help them without having to, go through jumping hoops and stuff like that, trying to get people onto your. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy.
I noticed. That's okay.
Mailman or something at the door. But
I get it. I get dogs too.
You have to build your email list. That's massively important. So if you're driving, Facebook ads to an offer, some type of free thing that's going to serve your marketplace, get those people opted in for something of value, build your list, build a relationship with them, and eventually it becomes a lot easier to monetize that.
Killer. So our audience is pretty advanced too. I want your secret sauce. Haha. I want to know, like, what is that strategic way of doing content? Because it's one thing, we're all told content is king and blah, blah, blah. And how much time do we dedicate it to? How often do we do it? We get that an email list is extremely important, but even open rates are going down right now. We're going through this whole process of like funnel is the best. And then people start going down the funnel path and they're like, and they cry. So,
Yeah.
so give me your special sauce on that to try and fix all of this for us.
Well, the funny thing is that our whole framework actually combines content and funnels together. So what I realized is that there's a lot of amazing people out there producing content who have no idea how to market on the back end. Our strength is both. We're great content producers and very smart marketers. So for us, we realized that so I made a lot of mistakes back in the day before like the Panda and Penguin updates. I had all these different little mini sites and like subpar content and just junk, and all that got shot down like just overnight. And then I was like, nah, I don't know, I don't want to do the blogging thing. I don't want to do the content thing, and it was just kind of like haphazard. And then we decided that we actually have a pretty interesting competitive advantage based on our team and what we can produce and stuff. And so we decided to go full into it, but like really doing it properly. And the biggest thing that I realized, even when we started, was we actually did a couple things for the first couple months. This is probably about 2.5 years ago. That kind of wasted our time, and that was not planning properly. And by planning, I mean just basic keyword research, not knowing how to do that properly. Mm-hmm. Like we were going after very competitive keyword phrases that it's unless you're Huffington Post or CNN.com, I mean, you're not going to get found. So it took us a little bit of time to be like, oh, why is this not working? And then we're like, oh, okay. So we started to look at, okay, how to do keyword research more intelligently. Just a quick overview is basically go after very long tail, infrequently searched keyword phrases. Okay, so I use the example of weight loss. Good luck, right? 169 million results in Google for weight loss. You type in how to lose weight after pregnancy, that competition drops down significantly to maybe a couple hundred thousand competing websites. So 169 million versus a couple hundred thousand, which one are you going to do better on, right? But the more important thing with long tail keyword phrases are essentially more than 4 words in a search query. So weight loss is not long tail. That's just, what's the intention there? You have no idea. It could be a host of things. But how to lose weight after pregnancy, as an example, the intention is singular. How do I lose weight after pregnancy? So there's 2 things that happen here. Because of the words that are being typed in, there's fewer competing websites, which increases your chances of being found. Second, the intention is known. And the more you get intent when people are searching, the more motivated those individuals are to finding a solution, right? So if somebody said, best DSLR camera, if they type that into Google, that they're kind of like actively searching for maybe buying something. But if they typed in Canon 60D versus Canon T1, I don't even know if that's a model number, but that's a very specific search, and you're most likely in a buying mode at that point. So think about what is the intention with the keywords that you're going after. Are they just randomly browsing type of keywords, or are they motivated keywords that people actually want to do some type of business with? A simple way to find this out is if you use Google Keyword Planner, you can look at 3 columns. You're going to look at number of monthly searches, competition, and suggested bid. In the monthly searches category, you want to find that as high as possible, but when you find high monthly searches, you're going to find very high competition. So realistically, if you can find anything above 100 searches per month that has low competition, that's a pretty good place to start with, especially if you have a relatively young website. And then very importantly, a lot of people overlook the importance of a keyword phrase that has a suggested bid of some dollar amount associated with it. So if a keyword phrase, and I hope I'm not going over your...
No, I love this stuff. So everybody else just take notes.
If a keyword phrase has $0 associated with it, that means nobody on Google Ads are buying ads with respect to that keyword because there's no money there. Okay, maybe don't waste your time there.
Yep.
But if you have a keyword phrase that has, let's say, $1.47 associated with that keyword phrase, okay, now there's some money being spent in that specific area. So use that. If everything else is equal, look at where's the money being spent and go after those keywords that have more money associated with them. That's where you're going to find more of your buyers. So that's a simple thing that if you spend more of your time in the planning and research phase, you'll save yourselves like years. I'm telling you, and this is something you do once a year. You don't have to do it every single day. Once a year, spend a week if you have to, just do this and you're done. And it's the best use of your time. It'll help you navigate through all the nonsense. It's super powerful.
I love that you went down this path because the hard thing is everybody's like SEO's dead and just create content and blah, 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 blah. Because I've had clients that got hit by Google stuff also. But
Yeah.
what we're hoping is that the people that are actually doing the amazing work and really trying to share are Google will like them in general anyway for a long period of time. So how deep do we have to go? Because I'm a geek also. So when this is a rabbit hole that we could go crazy on,
Sure.
but for right now, is that enough to get people started to really start going, okay, at least there's a plan for the content that I'm creating?
Yeah. So we have, so we use another tool. So we use Google Keyword Planner, which is free. If you have Google and an AdWords account, which everyone has, you can use that. We also use a tool called SEMrush,
Yes.
which is the best $69 a month you will ever spend. It's unbelievable. I don't even know why they're not charging $1,000 a month. Everything you need, competitive intelligence, keyword research, everything is in there. And with that, it gives you a bit more flexibility to be a little more intelligent because Google, for instance, will say it has high competition. Well, what's high, right? Like, is it 100,000 pages, 1,000,000 pages? SEMrush will tell you exactly that number. So you can, and we have a very specific set of criteria that we base our keyword research on. So we, different parameters that SEMrush will allow us to see that we would not see in Google Keyword Planner.
Yep.
So it can be a little more granular, but it's actually a really cool and simple 3-step process that, I have basically trained my VA to do for me.
That's what I was going to say. You don't do this anymore, I'm assuming.
No, like literally,
I mean,
we have a course that we've built around this whole concept. But I tell people, I'm like, listen, if you're the expert, if you're the content producer, you should probably know this, but just watch this 20-minute video and then give it to your VA. They can do, so right now as we're recording this, my assistant is doing the next year's worth of content keyword research for our healthpreneur business. Because I'm like, well, I don't need to do it. I mean, here's exactly what you need to do. Here are the parameters. Go do it. She'll come back to me with what I call our gold mine keyword list. And now I can start producing content around that. So it's super valuable, but it doesn't have to be I mean, you can go super deep and granular on tactical stuff with this, but I think if you understand the basics of keyword research and understand, like, go after relatively high search, low competition, where there's money, that's a great starting point.
Well, and then how do you figure out what content? So we know the keywords of the content to create, but how much of it because this is where people start to, and content calendars and blah, blah, blah. And how much can I actually do? Tell me more.
Okay. So we publish a 2,000 word article on our blog every single day.
Are you kidding? You don't write them all.
What? So here's the thing. Okay. I have no involvement in any of it.
Okay. Phew. No.
So I created this whole process called the Content Automator, which basically allows you to share your expertise, your voice, your perspectives, your philosophy, everything without you actually doing the work. So for those of you who are like, I don't want to do all the work myself. I don't want to do the writing. I hate writing. That's why I did 900 videos on YouTube.
Yes. Yay.
Yeah,
okay.
You don't have, see, the key is, as a thought leader, your goal is to just get this stuff out of your head out. Let somebody else worry about sentence structure. Okay. So let's talk about frequency. The best frequency for you is the frequency that is going to be realistic for you. So I would say, like, just start with once a month. If you were to ask yourself, if I were to create the best possible piece of content, blog post, podcast, video, whatever it is, what realistic frequency could I do that at? And maybe it's, I'm going to write the most definitive guide on topic X once a month, and it's going to be a 5,000 word blog post. And that's going to be like, if you were to buy an ebook, it would be better than that. And if that's your frequency, then that's your frequency, because the reality is, like, quantity does matter in terms of freshness of content. But if you produce something so good that people are like, oh my God, I've got to share this, that's pretty valuable. Because in today's day and age, sharing and people talking about it and linking to it, that's the currency of content. And Google is becoming more human because they want to allow us to have a great experience on Google. So if people are loving your content, then Google is also going to love your content. So figure out a frequency that is going to allow you to produce an amazing piece of content. Second is I have a framework called the EPIC framework for content. So basically, E stands for educational and entertaining. Don't be boring, right? If you're writing, it's maybe a little more difficult, but you can still infuse some voice and some passion there. It has to be educational. Like, obviously, it has to help people, right? The P stands for proof. So especially in the health space or really in any other space, so you have to validate what you're talking about. You can't just say, this studies have found that women who eat bagels lose weight. Well, where are these studies? Like, reference them, okay? That's important. It makes you look better. Google likes, seeing those external references. I, in the EPIC formula, stands for insight. Insight is your unique perspective on this specific topic. So when I tell people I'm a huge believer of working out less, and that's because as a former pro soccer player, I've seen what working out 7 days a week does to your body, blah, 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 blah. So I'm basically saying, here's an idea, and I'm backing it up with my own experience, my insights, my perspective, so that it's not just plain vanilla content. C in the EPIC framework is clear and call to action. So I believe our job is to make life a bit easier for people. So make your content clear, not overwhelming and just all over the place, and have a call to action. Every single thing you do has to have a call to action. Subscribe to my channel, opt in here for this free thing, something of that nature where you can take people to the next level. And finally, the K, yes, we spell EPIC with a K here.
I wasn't expecting that. Okay, go ahead.
The K goes back to Kool-Aid content, right? So add some Kool-Aid into your stuff. What do you stand for? What do you stand against? What do you like? Where do you kind of claim your stake in this thing? Add your own perspective and personality. Otherwise, it's just like you might as well find this on livestrong.com or wherever else. So yeah. So if you follow that formula, you can use that on video, you can use that in podcasting, or you can use that in written format. But the key is just create something amazing that people are just going to be wowed by. And if they're wowed, they're going to share it. And if they share it, people are going to see it. And if people see it, then that's how you start building traffic.
I love this, especially because as you were talking about the guides, all I thought was Neil Patel, who has Beginner's Guide to SEO, Advanced Guide to SEO. And I refer him to everybody because you're like, oh, this is just one thing where you can get all really, really great advice all in one little thing. And of course, he's doing quite well for himself also. So I know you have to go pick up the kids in just a minute. So we have to, I know, gosh darn those children. So I'm going to ask you the last question. What's one action listeners can take this week to help move them forward towards their goal of 1 million?
I would say, I'm going to say something kind of controversial. I don't know if it's controversial, but I would say get very clear on your messaging. Like, get very clear on your statement. Like, what are your beliefs? Like, what do you stand for? And I know I've mentioned this already a couple of times, like going back to Kool-Aid content, but I think it's really important because if you want to build a following, people need to follow a leader, right? And if you don't stand for anything, well, people are not going to fall behind you. Talking politically for a second, like Donald Trump stood for something. He stands for something. And it's brought to surface a whole bunch of stuff that people never even thought about until he talked about it. And that's kind of what you have to do. And that's one of the reasons I believe he won the election, is because his campaign, not that I'm saying, it was a great thing, but very well thought out.
Marketing.
And
I'm like, hashtag marketing. Sorry, go ahead.
When you spend the time on your messaging and understanding your audience, it's amazing what you can do. So I would say, just as a very quick exercise, write down what you stand for, what you stand against. What do you believe to be true? What are you doing what you do? Why do you do what you do? What is the purpose for what you're doing? Was there something in your past that propelled you to do this? What is the vision moving forward? What is the pain that you're trying to solve? Write all this stuff down and start sharing it, even on Facebook as a post. I'm telling you, you're going to start developing a really amazing following just by doing that stuff on Facebook, and then take it into your content. And it's amazing. Watch what will happen to your business. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
It's so funny how we don't actually think about that stuff. We're just like, we make decisions based on what's in our brain, and we don't actually pull it out as to what we stand for and what we believe for. So I love that. Where can we find out more from you? Tell us your websites again, how we can follow you, where we can get all those information guide things with EPIC that you talked about before. Tell us everything.
Yeah, sure. So if you're interested in improving your health, check out my blog at yurielkaim.com. If you're a health or fitness professional who wants to grow your online business, join us at healthpreneurgroup.com. While you're there, you can download that idea filter that I mentioned, which is the 2-page kind of sifting and sorting tool to not waste your time and energy on stuff that doesn't make sense. And otherwise on Facebook, I've got my personal profile, which is actually kind of like my business page. And then my fan page, which is my health health side of things. I just use my personal profile for business because I'm like, I don't want to start another fan page. There's no organic reach there.
I know,
So,
right? Man. Anyway,
yeah.
well, make
So I'm
sure
just
we
like,
will link everything up so everyone can follow you and learn way more and spell things with K's now, because that's what Yuri does.
yep, that's how we spell Canada, with a K, not C. So,
Thank you so much for coming on. I know you
yeah.
have to run, but thank you. Really, really appreciate it. Let me know if you need anything at all, okay?
Awesome. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much, Jamie.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that interview. And if you want to check out more amazing resources, I'm only curating the best of the best. Go check out eventualmillionaire.com. You can take the Eventual Millionaire quiz, figure out where you are in business and what you need right now. Plus, you can look at curated resources specifically for you on the new Start Here page. I'm so excited. Please join us. Please let me know if you need anything at all. I'm here for you. And have a fantastic day. Bye.